So my name is Paul Horn. I am a probate attorney. I'm also a CPA. So we'll talk about some tax stuff today as well, in addition to the legal aspect of you own a house, your homeowner, your client own a house. They will die. When they die, how does the house get passed on to their children? You, as a real estate professional, you get a call from the son or the daughter. You have a potential listing appointment. What are some preparation you need to do in terms of the roadmap of how to close escrow? Yeah, so I'm going to share with you a lot of educational, informational stuff. Okay. Obviously, if you have a specific, as a reminder, right? I'm a licensed attorney, so I'm able to give legal advice. I'm a CPA. I'm able to give you tax advice, and I'm sure you all know this. But yeah, so if your client has a tax question or legal question, make sure you pass them on to the appropriate licensed individual. Okay. And all right, let us start. So the summary of this class, it could be summarized in this handout. And by the way, you receive a bunch of handout. Yes, yeah. So on the screen is a great handout that is sort of the roadmap to how would you handle your real estate escrow transaction if a homeowner die and the house is in the trust. So when I say the house is in the trust, what I mean is when mom and dad set up the trust, the lawyer changed the grand deed of the house to be owned by the trust. Okay, so when you get a phone call from a potential client that says, my mom died, my dad died, could you, Mary, sell this house for us? So the first thing you ought to do is to pull the grand deed. Okay? When you pull the grand deed, that's going to tell you whether the house is, when you pull the grand deed, it's going to tell you whether the house is in a trust or the house is not in the trust. On the screen is another handout that's for you as well. If you haven't received it, you can click on that link. Yeah, you can click on that link and you can pull it. Okay, just click on that Dropbox link and you can get it. So when you pull the grand deed, it's going to show you, hey, the house is in a trust. How would you go about selling that house in a trust? When you pull the grand deed, the house is under mom's name. But mom has a will. Does that need to go to probate? So the answer is, if mom has a will, do we still need probate? If there's a will, isn't there a way, right, to avoid probate? Absolutely not, right? If you own a house and all you've got is a will after you die, too bad, so sad, it's gonna go into probate. Okay. All right. Now, why is that? Let's just sit on that for 1 second. I got a will. My will says when I die, give this house to my son, to my daughter. Why do I need a probate? Let's think about that. So you wrote a will, you signed a will. But when you signed the will, you did not sign the grand deed. The grand deed is still under your name. So there has to be a mechanism. There has to be a mechanism to allow someone to sign the new grand deed to the buyer. And that mechanism is called probate. So today, we are also going to cover, we're also going to cover on the screen, we're also going to cover, okay, if it's in a probate, then when can I sell this house while the probate is active? Okay, yeah. So I am a licensed attorney in California. So this class, when we talk about the legal aspect, is purely California. Okay, yeah. Cindy asked, will we receive the recording of this webinar? The answer is yes. First of all, I want you to all thank Elsie from OCAR, who is putting this class together. She's going to make sure this gets recorded and she's going to get it out to you. So a shout out to Elsie for doing a terrific job monitoring this and putting all this together for us. Okay. All right. So let's start. Let us begin. Let us begin. So I'm just gonna, okay, so let's do this. All right, so by the way, I am a California certified specialist in trust law and probate law, okay? Okay, so look, on the screen, you see a will. What are the pros and cons of having a will? Okay. And on the right-hand side, you see what are the pros and cons of having a trust. Okay. And by the way, this handout, you have this handout as well. Okay. This handout is in a PDF format for you that looks like this. Okay, so you have this handout as well. All right, so why don't we go through this? Okay, why don't we go through this? The difference between a will and a trust. The biggest difference between a will and a trust is this. The biggest difference, if you learn nothing else, learn this one thing. If all you got is a will and you own a house in California, if all you got is a will and you own a house in California, I want you to focus on this sad face. You see this sad face? This sad face says, too bad, so sad. My mom owns a house and all she got is a will, and therefore this house goes to probate. Okay. So when the question is, what is the difference between a will a will and a trust. A will land you into probate. A trust, you don't need a probate. And believe me, you do not want a probate. A probate is very expensive, very lengthy. And if you have all kinds of creditors attack, for example, if you use Medi-Cal in California and all you've got is a will, California will say to your children, sell this house and pay us back. Okay? So right off the bat, I can tell you that if you have a will, and you use Medi-Cal in your later part of your life, you will have to pay Medi-Cal back. Okay? So that's another difference. If you have a trust, you don't have to pay Medi-Cal back. If you have a will, Medi-Cal is going to want that money back. You might say, what's the big deal? How expensive can that be? Oh, believe me, very, very expensive. We're talking about $300,000, $400,000 paying back the state of California. So if you don't want your children to pay $500,000 back, for example, to California, get a trust. So if you don't want to pay back Medi-Cal, don't do a will. Instead, get a living trust. And this is how you do it. This is the sequence of things. Get a living trust and you can die tomorrow. Bam. You've been using Medi-Cal for 20 years. You've been using Medi-Cal for 20 years. No problem. Get a trust today. Die tomorrow. You're good. Okay. Do it in that sequence. Okay. So that's two major differences that I think you can walk away with this class. Okay. We're 15 minutes into this class. If you've learned nothing else, if you walk away with those two things, you have got your money's worth. Okay. If you have any question, type it in the chat box and I will address them. Okay. Yeah, this class is for you. This class is free, but your time is not free, right? So if you have a question, let me see if I can help you. Let me see if I can answer for you. Yeah. So what was the first one again? What was the first one again? Someone says, Santiago says, hey, we don't learn anything else. What's the two things we learned so far in the first 15 minutes? All right. The first one was if you own a house in California and all you've got is a will, so Santiago, you own a house and all you have is a will, then too bad, so sad, a will put you into probate. Point number two, and the trust, no probate, as you see on the screen. Okay. Yeah. What about if I rent in another state like Oregon? Yeah, so Maribel, I don't understand your question, meaning you have a rental property in Oregon and you live in California, same thing, get a trust in California, put that Oregon house in your trust. Yeah, so that's how you would do it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Renee has a question for me. Renee says, it sounds to me, Paul, it sounds to me like a will is worthless. Then why do people have it? Good question, Renee. Good question. Right. because people don't know any better. That's the honest truth, you know? And that's why OCAR puts on these classes so that hopefully, hey, if someone says, hey, should I get a trust? Should I get a will? At least at a minimum, you can say, hey, you know, my understanding is a trust puts you into probate. Would you please seek out an attorney to help you answer that question? And the attorney will say, if you own a house and all you got is a will, welcome to probate. And people don't know that. You know, people don't know that. And when you're in a probate, so Greg asks, how soon must an estate be probated? So Greg asked a question, Greg Moore. I don't quite understand your question, Greg. Let's say, for example, Greg, your mom died today. How much time do you have to start the probate, Greg? The answer is this. If your mom died today, your mom owns this house, not you, not your sister. So the answer is the sooner the better, because no one owns this house at the moment, Greg. Your mom died today. She owns the house. If you want to wait 10 years to do the probate, what if the house burns down the following week? You know, the insurance company's going to pay someone in heaven? Or you want to rent this house out? Well, who's the owner? Oh, the owner's mom in heaven, right? That's the landlord. So yeah, so there is no specific time when you must start a probate, but the sooner the better, because you are in limbo until the court adjudicate who owns this house. Mom in heaven does, dad in heaven does. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So this graphic that you see on the screen is very powerful in terms of a trust versus a will. And then just to piggyback on the concept of, and I think here, I'm going to show you this next handout. And this is a pretty good handout that you have that shows the difference between a will and a trust. A will, you go on a Mike Ferry convention in Bellagio in Las Vegas. It's your 5th day. You're tired. You know, you're having a drink. You get a piece of napkin and you write your will on there. That's a will, right? You can do it yourself. It's super cheap, a will. Super cheap initially, but it's going to cost your son and daughter way much more headache and pain. Yeah. So a will, you know, it doesn't, there's a lot of negativity to having a will, okay? So let's say you have a will. That's all you got is a will. But let's say, for example, you're incapacitated because you have dementia, traumatic brain injury, etc. Then the court's going to take over. Versus if you have some estate planning like a trust, the trust comes with a power of attorney that says, hey, if you're incapacitated, the trust comes with a power of attorney that says, hey, Renee, if you have dementia, if you have Alzheimer's, the trust comes with a power of attorney that allows your husband, your son, your daughter to sign your name on your behalf, Renee. Okay, yeah. Okay, so on the screen, it's also, if you have a will, you have to pay for court filing fees, probate fees. Someone asked the question, how much is a probate? Roxana asked, how much does a probate cost? All right, Roxanne, I'm going to share with you how much it costs. Let's go there. So I have a terrific calculator, guys. I have a terrific calculator. It looks like this. I will share this calculator with you, okay? I'm going to put this calculator in the So we're going to call this link number 1. We're going to call this probate calculator of cost. Okay. So I just put that into the chat box. So for example, Renee, let's just give me a number, Renee. I'm sorry, not Renee. Roxana. Roxana, you asked how much does probate cost. Roxana, let's say a house in Laguna Hill costs $1 million, for example. Okay. Fair enough. A house out there costs $1 million. You just type in $1 million, and then all you gotta do is just click on this button that says calculate. It calculates for you. And the total cost is $48,500, Roxana, for $1 million house. Roxana Torres, did you get that? Roxana Torres says, oh, but wait, there's a mortgage on that house for $800,000. There's a mortgage on $800,000. So do we put in the net $200,000 only, or do we put in $1 million? This you put in the gross. This is what gross really means, gross. Okay, so it will be $1 million. So on $1 million house, you're looking at $48,500 total probate costs. Okay, so this is a good calculator to keep in your pocket. Okay, all right. Let's see here. Olina says, how long people who inherit property in trust can keep it? I don't quite understand that question. Yeah. Let me see if I can. Yeah, Olina, if you want to elaborate a little more on your question, or here, let me see. Let me see if I can unmute Olina. Oh, well, I don't think I can unmute you to talk, Olina. But anyway, I don't understand what you're asking me. So your mom died? Your mom is a trust, right? So maybe your question is, can I just keep it in your mom's trust? That's a possibility. If your mom trust is a specially built trust, that says that you can keep that property in there. Okay, yeah. So how long can a trust exist is her question. So your mom has a trust. The house is in there. Your mom died. You should take the house out of your mom's trust and put it into your trust, Olina. Okay, yeah. So that is the answer. Your mom and dad's a trust. Your mom and dad died. The owner of that trust has passed away. Let's remove asset out of that trust, put into your trust. And do the funeral expense, do your grieving, and then do it. Don't wait 3 years, don't wait 2 years. Reasonable time. 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months, reasonable time. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see here. So Abel asked a question. He asked, can you avoid probate with a transfer and death deed? So don't do revocable transfer and death. Someone says, hey, I heard of a cheap way to do a trust. I heard that, hey, don't go to a lawyer. They are obnoxious. They charge you too much. Just do a revocable transfer and death. Don't do it. Revocable transfer and death says it's a special deed that says when I die, give it to so-and-so. Don't do it because the title company will not insure it for 3 years. Don't do it. Revocable transfer and death, it's not a good way to hold title. Okay? Confirm that fact for a title company. They'll tell you the same. They will tell you the same. Okay? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. So to piggyback, your mom died. Your mom has a house in the trust. You're the only child, right? It's supposed to go to you. Okay. So the question is, when you take the house out of the trust, put into your name, will the property tax gets reassessed? And that's a Proposition 19 question. So the answer is, if mom died, mom bought that house for 200,000. Now it's worth $1 million when she died. When you get the house at $1 million, does your property tax stays the same? Okay, so that is a Proposition 19 question. Okay, I have a slide for you on Proposition 19. Okay, so let me reframe the question. Your mom bought the house for 200 grand. When she died, it's worth $1 million. Her property tax was very low. It was based on 200,000. Now it's worth $1 million. The question is, after she passed away, you take the house at $1 million. You're not going to sell it. You're going to keep it. Does your property tax stays the same? So the answer is no. The answer, if it's mom primary house, the rule is assessed value plus $1 million for primary resident. To qualify for that, it has to be mom's primary resident, and the children has to move into it. One of the children has to move into it. So, Olina, that is Olina's real question. Hey, can I just leave the house in the trust and avoid property tax assessment? No, because it's from the date of death. Your mom died 10 years ago and you think you're smart by not alerting the county assessor that someone died, reassess property tax. It ain't gonna work because they're gonna get you for 10 years of past reassessment. Yeah. Let's stick to Prop 19 for a second. Okay. Stick to Prop 19 for a second. If you own rental property, you bought that rental property for 300,000. Now it's worth $1 million. You die, and that rental property gets passed to your daughter, your son. Your son and daughter are they're gonna keep it. The property tax will get reassessed on all rental property. Okay, that's Prop 19. So the positive point on Prop 19, is this, that it should increase your commission. It should increase the volume of transaction, meaning that if someone is 55 or older, severely disabled, or lost their house in a natural fire disaster, they bought that house for 200,000. Now it's worth $1 million. They qualify for any of those three: 55 or older, severely disabled, or lost their house in a natural disaster. You can sell that house for them for $1 million, for example. They can move into another house at the $1 million price and still retain the old property tax base. So Prop 19 is a good thing is a good arsenal to have in your back pocket, right? If the situation warrants it. All right. So, Rhonda James has a question in the chat box. She says, if you have a trust and you want someone to be able to live in the house until their death, then the asset gets split after second death, what would you do? Rhonda, let's do an example. Rhonda, you own a house. Rhonda, your boyfriend lives with you. Okay, Rhonda, you have a niece, a daughter from separate marriage. Rhonda, you can put your house into a trust. Rhonda, you can say, hey, when I die, I want my 26-year-old boyfriend to live there. When he dies, it goes to my niece. Or if he no longer wants to live there, you can sell it. 50% go to my new boyfriend. 50% go to my niece, for example. So it'd be stipulated in the trust, Rhonda, to say, hey, when I die, so-and-so can have a life estate to live in that house. And when he or she no longer wants to live there, or when the life estate expires, They can sell it and split the profit to whoever you stipulate in your trust, Rhonda. That is your answer to your question. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let me let me get back to our PowerPoint. Oh, let's see here. Let me get back to our PowerPoint. Okay. All right. Let us continue. Let us continue. Yeah, and so this session is being recorded, and yeah, if you record it, I think Monday night you will get the recording. Angela Wong, your question, Angela. Okay, all right, let us move on. Okay, all right, so okay, so yeah, so having a will is absolutely useless in California. Don't do it. If you own a house, get a trust. Okay. And a good trust, the cost of a good trust is going to cost you, oh, say in the $3,000 range, in the $3,500 range. Okay. That would be a cost of a trust. And a trust is much, much more powerful than a will. Why? Because a trust allows you to protect your family line. What do I mean by that? So for example, you own a house, you create a trust, you put your house into the trust. And let's say you have two children. In your trust, you can stipulate that, hey, if my son or daughter gets a divorce, their spouse cannot touch it. That can be stipulated in a trust. You own a house, you put it into a trust. The trust can say, hey, I have two children. If one of them were to pass away, give their respective share, give their 50%, for example, to their descendant. If my daughter died and she has no children, give it to her brother, for example. You can control it much better. You can control it much better as far as who gets your asset via a trust. Okay. Yeah. And a trust. Oh, let's see. In a blended family situation, blended family, meaning that you got remarried, you brought with you a daughter from a prior marriage, you're marrying someone, he or she also have some children from their previous relationship. You come together, you create a trust. Your trust can be very specific. Your trust can be very specific. It can say, hey, if I die, I don't want the new spouse to take everything. So in your trust, you're able to protect against predatory remarriages. You can do that. A trust can do that. A will wouldn't be able to do that. Okay. And when you have a trust, it can minimize your estate tax as well. So you put your house into a trust. You bought the house for 200,000, and the house now is worth 2 million. It's in the trust. When you die, it goes to your children. They sell it for 2 million, even though that same house you only bought it for 200,000. It's tax free. Okay, it's called a step up in basis. So I want to introduce you to the third. I mean, if we're going to keep tabs on what are the critical point you ought to walk away with. The other, anyway, so far, everything I've taught you is you got to know it's priceless. It helps you in your life. Okay. But here's another amazing facts that you need to know. Okay. You bought the house for 200,000. When you die, you bought it for 200,000. When you die, it's worth 2 million. How do we do it? How do we do it that you only bought it for 200 grand? When you die, it's worth 2 million. And if your children were to sell it for 2 million, they don't pay any taxes. By putting it into a trust. When you put the house into a trust, it goes to your children in avoiding a probate. At the same time, they get to step up in basis. They sell that house, for example, for $2 million. That very same house only costs you, way, way less. They don't pay any taxes because they get to step up in basis. Okay? That's called a step up in basis. A very powerful concept. Your children can use this tax loophole. How? One way. You make sure you don't put your children's name onto the grandee. You make sure you don't add your children's name onto the grandee. Don't do that. The moment you put their name onto the grandee of your house, you have just destroyed this wonderful tax advantage, the step up in basis. Okay? So if you learn nothing else, don't put your son, your daughter onto the grandee of your house. Okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, Santiago is powerful. Okay. If you learn nothing else, learn this, what you see on the screen. Santiago, don't be a hero, right? Don't try to make America great again by having your children pay taxes. Don't do it, right, Santiago? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's just explore tax a little bit further. Okay. Let's say you and your husband are buying a house. You and your husband are buying a house. Okay. You and your husband are buying a house. And you and your husband, you and your wife, you have the option of vesting that house as joint tenant, community property, or community property right of survivorship. Those are the three ways you can vest title in California if you are a married couple. Don't do joint tenant because in joint tenant, you only get a half step up in basis. Okay. So you and your husband, you and your wife are buying a house, don't do it. Don't do joint tenant. Because joint tenant, for the example you see on the screen, you bought the house for 100,000. Now it's worth $1 million. Your husband died, right? In California, husband always die first in California, right? Your husband died. The wife goes and sell the house for $1 million because it's a joint tenant. Capital gain is 450. But that very same house, that very same fact, if it's community property, you vested as community property. That same fact, husband died, you sell this house, no capital gain due. Okay. Yeah. So community property is a better way to hold title if indeed it's true it's community property. But which community property? Should you do community property flat out, or should you do community property with right of survivorship? Which one should you do? Well, if you vest that house as community property, I want you to remember the pool boy you see on your screen. The wife can will her half to that pool boy because he's amazing at cleaning pool. Okay. But if you vest it as community property or right of survivorship, that's what we call the I love you way of holding title, where neither party can will their half away. Okay, so this is a very good lesson, a very good information investing. I'm going to give you link number 2. Link number 2 is this, a great video that I created. This is a wonderful video. If you want to review how to best title, if you have a client that says, I'm buying a house, escrow is asking me, how should I vest? And they ask you, and you say, I'm just a realtor. I cannot give legal advice. So you can send them. You can send them this link. You can send them this link I'm going to give to you. You can send them this link. So this is going to be link number 2 on investing. Okay. If you click on that link that I just put in the chat box, it will take you to this video. And this video will explain, hey, what is the difference between joint tenant versus tenant in common versus community property versus an LLC versus in a living trust. It's a very good video. Okay, it's a very good video. All right. Yeah. So, Roseanne, you said this is great information. Thank you. And you can thank Old Call, you can thank LC for putting this together. Okay, this information, I'm telling you, even though you never take a listing in probate or in a trust, everything I've taught you today directly impact you because you're going to die one day. Because you want to know how to get this house to your son or daughter without going to probate, right? Because you want to know how to make sure that your son and daughter don't pay extra taxes that they don't need to. A very important class for you this morning, okay? All right. So someone says, hey, does a trust protect other country? No. The trust that the lawyer created in the USA pertain to all USA territory, the 50 states. To your chagrin, right? The United States don't control law in other countries. So only property in the USA you can put into USA trust. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is, so someone asked me to redo the link. So I'm going to redo the link for you. So I think the first, let me see. So what you see on the screen is the second link. The first link. Yeah, this is the great link. This has the probate calculator fee. The probate calculator shows how much is. So let me give you the first link. And then I'm also going to give you the second link while we're still in this while we're doing it. Okay, I'm gonna give you all the important links right now that you can watch later. This is a probate video that I did that you can go watch later. That's very in-depth. This is link number 3. Yeah, so these are 3 powerful links that you can watch later on your own. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So these 3 links, you can click on it, save it in your computer, and then you can watch it later. Okay. Yeah. So Ken asked me, hey Ken, can you send out the handout again? Ken, I think just go to, I think Old Cars Elsie sent it to you already. Ken. Yeah, I think you can download it, Ken, from there. Yeah, so Greg Moore says the benefit from this step-up basis, must the property be transferred within 1 year? No. Step-up basis is a federal tax concept. It's a federal IRS tax concept. And yeah, so step-up basis is the valuation on the date of death. Okay. Let's see here. Let me see. I'm looking for, oh, someone asked me, hey, can you explain the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? Dylan Pham. Dylan Pham says, hey, what is the difference between a revocable trust and irrevocable trust? Here's the difference. Dylan Pham, the answer is this. You don't need an irrevocable trust. Most likely, if your assets are less than $27 million for a married couple, $13.8 million for a single person. Dylan, if you're single, if you have more than $13.8 million, let's say you have $20 million, Dylan, when you die, we take $20 million minus 13.8 million. Let's just roughly call it there's $7 million left. You're going to be taxed 40% of that 7 million. So what we do is we use an irrevocable trust as an estate planning mechanism to drain your estate tax down to zero. So when you die, you die just below the exemption threshold of 13.8, for example, and you pay no taxes. So we use an irrevocable trust for estate tax planning purposes if you have more than $13.8 million for you and another 13.8 million for your wife, Dylan Pham. Okay. Yeah. All right. Jackie asks, as a single person with a trust, is it better to have a person be the executor or the attorney that set up the trust? Jackie. Yeah, so you're a single person. So Jackie, it depends on your circumstance, Jackie. For example, Jackie, depending on how much money you have. If you have like $20 million and you're leaving it to your nephew who's 3 years old, then yeah, you want a good person in charge. So Jackie, that's a very fact-specific question. Your question, but I'm a single person. Um, you know, yeah, who should I have be in charge of my trust? Yeah. The person in charge of your trust after you die, we call that person the personal representative, the successor trustee, the successor trustee. I want all of you to focus your eye. I want all you to focus your eye on the screen, okay? I want all eyes on the screen. Very important. It affects your money. It affects your commission. Your client died. Your client has 4 children. She died, she has 4 children. You learn today, before you go on to the listing appointment with the children, you need to pull up the grandee. When you pull up the grandee, the house is in the trust. Mom has 4 children. Who is the person that has the rightful legal authority to sign your trust? That person is the successful trustee. Okay? Very, very important. Mom has 4 children. The one that's named the successor trustee has the power to sign your listing agreement, has the power, to influence your commission. Okay? Very, very important. Okay? Successor trustee. Very, very important. So on the screen is a handout that you have. On the screen, if the house is in a trust, the successor trustee has the power to sign your listing agreement. The homeowner, they own a house and all they have is a will. If that's the case, you learn now the word will is synonymous with too bad, so sad. They own a house, they have a will. It's going to go to a probate. Mom has 4 children. Same question. Who's your boss? Who has the power to sign your listing agreement? It would be, focus your eye on the screen, please. On the right-hand side says personal representative. The personal representative has the power to sign your listing agreement. Okay? A very, very important handout. keep this handout. This handout on the screen even takes you further and say, hey, you are in the midst of a probate transaction. If the probate is full authority, the handout in front of you on the screen says, hey, all you got to do to close escrow is give escrow the order for probate letters and the notice of proposed action. Full authority, close escrow in 100 days, give those 3 documents to escrow. If the probate is limited authority, it's going to require court confirmation, and the buyer's got to put 10% down. Okay, so this handout in front of you, crucial, and you have it. Okay, you have it. Okay. Someone in the chat box says, can I put all the children on as in charge? You can do that. Why? So you can have a really good time laughing in heaven when they're all arguing, because, right, there's 4 people in charge. There's 4 different ideas, 4 different personalities. I cannot pronounce your name. Is it Mugan? Mugan, do it. And you have a really good time laughing from heaven. Let the children tear each other apart, right? Why would you want to do that to your kid, right? Put all 5 of them in charge and let them fight until kingdom come? Why do that? Hey, the trust is a legal document. The trust says, I love all my 5 children equally. Here's the instruction on the trust. I'm going to choose one responsible child to execute my trust. It's not because I love that one child any more than the other 5. It's just that I know that that daughter is the most responsible one. She is going to read my wish, my trust, and follow the trust instruction. That's your answer. Okay? Whoever you put in charge as a successor trustee, the hallmark for that successor trustee is honesty. Honesty, integrity, responsible. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So whoever is in charge, the successor trustee, the moment you die, they cannot change the trust. They cannot change the trust. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when you look at the screen, if there's a will, the homeowner died, own a house, there's a will, it goes to probate. If that probate is with full authority, it's much easier to handle. No court confirmation, you sell that house, just like a regular standard transaction. But if it's limited authority, God help you. So then NAS in the chat box is asking, hey, if full authority is a better way to conduct a real estate transaction and a probate, then why do we have limited authority? That's one of your colleagues' questions in the chat box. NAS is asking, what are you smoking, probate attorney? Why don't you give us full authority all the time so it makes our job easier in selling this house, right? NAS, is that your question, right? What are we smoking? Give you some too and must be good, NAS, right? So that's a good question, right? If you have a probate transaction and the house must be sold, you want to do full authority. So then it gives a rise to the question, why are there limited authorities sitting out there? It basically boils down to inexperienced probate attorney. That's probably the major reason. And there might be some other problem out there too, that the probate attorney is not so seasoned, don't know how to handle, and hence it's saddled with limited authority. Okay. Or maybe you have a Jerry Springer family. You know, you know the Jerry Springer family where they're all fighting. They're all fighting. No one agrees with anything, you know. So the judge might say, okay, I've had it with you guys, limited authority. Everything comes in front of me so I can review it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So yeah. Someone says, why did you recommend not? Someone asked a question, and the question, why did you recommend not putting your children onto the grandee? I'm not going to answer that because you're going to have to go back and watch this video over. We just don't have time to go over that. That was a lengthy discussion. that I gave you, right? Why you should not put your children onto the grind. You're gonna have to go back to this video and watch it. It's very important. Yeah. Hey guys, so we only got 2 minutes left. So what I want to do with you is this. I am going to reshare with you. I think if you don't get to hear from me again, I want to leave you with a couple of video that I made that I think would go a long way. Okay. So I'm gonna put back into the chat box the 3 different links. This is, if you have some question that were not answered, most likely the video that I'm gonna put in the chat box is gonna answer all your question, okay? So I'm gonna put all these links. You can click on it. It's got my information on there. It's got great content of everything we covered today, okay? All right, guys. So first of all, I wanna thank OCAR. I wanna thank Elsie for putting this class together. I want to thank all of you for being here with me today. All your question was wonderful. Okay. And that's it. I'm going to call it a day. It is 11 o'clock. 1 hour has gone by, right? Did we have fun today? Did you learn a lot of stuff, guys?